shift happening, and this young gentleman is playing a major role in shifting the paradigm in terms of Africa. It's in Yamin Shrano, no kesida. Now people are questioning, oh, who, what's the relevance of the Oyen and Adia? Your BB soft power. And no come on, I'm a person yidi. Your BB soft power. Soft power, and they say, I saw the namu, I saw Jineni, I say social media, and watch camera scene so, and all the near children all have a fun, but all promote Africa or projecting Africa to the rest of the world. Now, this is a guy on his YouTube channel alone. He has about 50 odd million people around the world following him. Yeah, 50 odd million, 50.5 million YouTube subscribers. And a TikTok, a verified TikTok account is also almost about 50 million people, 48 point something million people. And a follow Abrantier on his TikTok account. And just imagine the impact that all making by showcasing Africa and all the various countries. Apparently, he's visited about 28 countries so far. And within the last 1 month, kasa sisi or what or my Ghana. And the papa the maying. Now me video be by Yenuya Bema. Be a Ghana or media space no your friend Olele. Enti me pesa ye be bo Olele video no na ye tie. And then machira madwene kakra ewo Olele video no ho. Enti credit to Yenua Bema Olele Salvador. I think I follow him on Twitter. And yes, and I said I'm reading a post kakra on Twitter in the past. But very young, nice gentleman. Waka Nyansa Sempati Mebo na Mumienti.
Landed in Ghana, bro. GH, baby. We out here, man. We in Ghana. We about to turn up, bro. We about to get lit.
So that's the Ishowspeed guy.
Some people are asking why this is a big deal. I even saw a tweet saying, why should we care about impressing him and all of that? You see, on the surface, it sounds like
oopsie, sorry, I just turned it down. Bear with me.
Your old YouTuber coming to Ghana. So let me put it in perspective, because this is my economy, this is my department, this is my industry. And I tell you why people like us are not only excited, but we are really hoping we deliver as a country. Now, this dude has 50 million YouTube subscribers and count. 50 million. Ghana's population is what, 34 million, right? This dude has 50 million YouTube subscribers.
Let's pause here. That's a very key point to note. A very, very, very important point to note. The number of people who follow Ishowspeed so change the entire Ghanaian population. Until you bet me, I can say Ishowspeed or you're more popular. Impossible. The president of the Republic of Ghana as it stands. Yeah? A nipa more any Ishowspeed. Follow Ishowspeed. The sitting president of the Republic, His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama. That is how powerful this guy is. Because Ghana population, 30-something million. Abrantier has almost 1.5 Ghana population following him. Intino Okasa, Ana Oyebibia. It cannot be discarded, and I say it cannot be disregarded or treated anyhow. That is why the world is paying people like him attention.
Right, he has millions more across TikTok, Instagram, and other platforms.
Yes.
He averages 200,000 plus concurrent viewership on live streams. Sometimes you notice that his streams would often peak around 600,000 live viewers. I remember when he went to Asia, he had 1 million people watching him live. Let's talk about the actual mechanisms at play here, because it goes beyond the theory. There is something we call the democratization of source power. When you look at nation branding, traditionally it would require a country to invest in tourism campaigns. So a typical example is Rwanda, even Morocco during the AFCON, right? Because everybody is trying to sell themselves as the next tourist destination to be at in the world. Everybody's looking to rank themselves because it comes with its own benefits. So normally when it comes to nation branding, the states invest a lot of money in tourism campaigns. So like I said, Rwanda, they have been on this Visit Rwanda campaign with clubs like Arsenal, PSG, and so on and so forth. And I don't want to get into the numbers because I need to double check the numbers in recent times, but it's a lot of money, a lot lot of millions of dollars are going there. All right. South Africa has done same. Dubai has done same. Recently, not too long ago, Dubai had creators like Dance God Lloyd, our very own Dance God Lloyd, and DJ Kapi and other creators come together to shoot content just to promote Visit Dubai. It's all part of the nation brand,
Mr.
right?
Beast,
As for the other things like the diplomatic outreach programs and cultural exchanges and stuff like that. That one, it is there. It is right. It is right before us. It hides in plain sight. They also look at how we export our culture through our very own traditional media. And to be very honest, you must agree that this takes years of sustained effort. But when you look at Speed Store, it inverts this model completely. One content creator like Speed and his mileage and his leverage with such authentic reach can achieve what years of traditional marketing cannot. Because this is live, this is unscripted. Even though some may argue that it's scripted, you cannot hide the genuine impact that this exposure brings to the viewers. And there's a level of trust that is attached to the exposure precisely because it is not looking like a polished advertisement. Our very own Wodemaya, who has traveled across many African nations, amplifying the positives and really sharing what each African country contributes to the global tourism economy, has done that for some time now. Now, even Wodemaya has suffered a lot of allegations and claims that he has been paid by these governments to do so. I can't confirm or deny, but I'm telling you that even with Wodemaya, he has suffered that brunt of being seen as one who is just advertising a country and not being real with his content. And that's simply because he's not live streaming it, he's pretty much recording it. Okay, so it creates that whole impression that he's just advertising the country. And even if he is
so
people will get paid to do so.
Now, Olele has made some very a fantastic points. The difference between somebody like Wodemaya, because what's not say now we share their abranti or no Africa now. But hasn't Wodemaya been doing this already? Wodemaya has been doing this. But then Olele highlights a very key point here, whereby Wodemaya has been highlighting Africa, but he's been making recorded videos. So people don't really see the authenticity. Yeah, people don't get to see the authenticity. Now, this gentleman, Ishowspeed, makes his videos via live streaming. So it is real time. Real time. Live. Whatever is taking place is happening live. People are more inclined to tune in to BBA Air happen live and stay fixated on something that is happening live as opposed to BBA Air happen recorded. My husband waha Uncle Bedi Madansi may say a lot of the times my husband will say, na say ebia program be ufu say any year recorded. And I always say to him, Odo, me start a live video. Me na me dem ho kra no. My year so accustomed to making live videos. I don't like making recorded videos. I would rather make a live video, make whatever mistake I'm making live for everybody to see, correct my own mistake live, and keep life moving, because that is life. And no ni pape. And that's the difference, slight difference between Wodemaya and Ishowspeed, and why the Oba Beyeno, in as much as a Wodemaya, are yet the same thing. Because Yemu Bebre Wodemaya and started highlighting Yema Bebre or other African countries, but we might end up making more impact because of just that live streaming now. It's another point we cannot discard. And then, like Olele is saying, Wodemaya has suffered the brunt from many Africans. Say African countries, Etrianeka, to do the oyeno. And so, for example, you see Wodemaya in Rwanda, or Tigata, Munebia Odidi Rwanda. Some Africans will say, oh, for some government Paul Kigali no more buying a triawoka to do what you sign yet as Africans. It brings me to the Bible scripture that talks about a prophet not being known in his own household. Sanity. A prophet is not known in his own household. Danepe Mabeya post at all say, yes, we appreciate what Ishowspeed is doing for us as a continent, as Africans and everything. But with me, I came this morning to give Wodemaya his flowers. Wodemaya, well done. For your movie mono, also una pave way, no, una set the tone. Emma, you who never be brave or your continent and so. And for your continent, your chrome Ghana Wodemaya highlighting near my baby. There are so many other wonderful YouTubers There's this young lady, my name is husband, you're sharing videos past Stella Shenelli, and a Volta region. Me falling in love with Volta region the way I love Volta region, you know, and Stella Shenelli. Or no, my waterfalls, mountains, all the beautiful sites are a Ghana Volta region. And you know, a lot of these YouTubers, even in Ghana, have done so much work with the greatest of respect to our tourism ministers in the past. I'm not talking about the current tourism minister. I'm talking about tourism ministers in the past. The YouTubers have done what they were supposed to have done. And near man was a common it to be highlighted Ghana for put technologies that is a social media you buy but it took the YouTubers. It is sometimes the current tourism minister. I am who's only with the Maya no need to make Japan because you have to incorporate them. If we really want to succeed, we really have to incorporate them in whatever is happening. And you know, I agree with Olele and with everything he said so far. And you know, I'll just highlight certain key points. And then me also might be in check a crime, a person medica the as an African who lives in the diaspora. And then also as a parent, because Olele will go on to I'll highlight the point.
All right. So while people are debating whether we should care, the truth is, countries like Benin just received what amounts to millions of dollars in free tourism marketing. Senegal too can say same. They showcased, a type of history to tens of millions of people around the world. Ethiopia's hotels are reporting unprecedented international interest. What makes this guy different from traditional celebrities is that his audience are predominantly Gen Z and Gen Alpha, right? These are people between the age of 10 or 12 and say 26 years old. Now, these guys are going to be the tourists, investors, and cultural consumers of the next 30 to 40 years. So, reaching them now through a medium and a messenger like Speed, in whom they trust, is long-term strategic position. Whereas
he makes another very, very brilliant point. I show Speedy while making points say upon visiting Ethiopia, normally some of the countries have already started reporting, say, tourism, a booster tourism, tourism, hotels, people are flooding into the countries, hotels are being booked, fully booked, and all that. Economies. Now, another very important point he makes is the fact that Ishowspeed, the audience, the so-called Gen Zs and the alpha, whatever generation, i.e. Nkwarana yawo mano, na me pese yedi nkomo kakra. Mana yawo no, okay? Now, me first born in the year 2000. Second born, all young, but first one was born 2000, beginning of the millennium, the new millennium. Bam. What I say? Now, and I pay na me husband he didn't come Ishowspeed a year and I me only video you and I may be my husband say me normally me tie in some say I bring it very close to me and how it helps me to really make sense out of enkomono. So me bisa me who say your last born okwakodi 19 me last born no. So would Maya all our children were born in the UK here. Even though we've raised them up, and I say this all the time, we've raised them up, we've conscientized them to accept that but Ghana for. They are more likely to tell you I'm Ghanaian, but I was born in the UK. But they will first of all tell you that they are Ghanaian. However, because and a home for them. Home for them. They visited Ghana before a couple of times, but short visits. So here is home for them. Therefore, so what the Maya Jinaho? Now the Ishowspeed Jinaho. What the Maya is telling them about Africa. Ishowspeed is also telling them about Africa. Who do you think, if I say maybe 19-year-old, is more inclined to listen to and believe and trust? I can put my hand on my heart and say, maybe 19-year-old no will be more inclined or would gravitate more towards Ishowspeed rather than Wodemaya. It's a mindset thing, but it is what it is. And I pick me after TikTok, they will gravitate towards speed. And you know, now think about the many more millions of Yankwara Yawu Abroche Empo us as Africans. Not to talk of Empo, narrowing it down to as Ghana for but think about the millions and millions and millions of African youth in the diaspora. African American youth. Africa is still their heritage. African American youth in Europe. Africa is still their heritage. What they call Asia is the same. Africa is still their heritage. Okay. Until now, you can imagine the impact this young man is making for free of charge, for free, highlighting and showcasing Africa to your mofre, even input to your adults. To your adults. Your Africans be brave to kwanya betina acquaint my woman detach it or disconnect it. They don't want to know anymore. Because we'll be any reason for which Ufi Africa ever acquaint to. But as a result of following this guy, watching him, listening, and Bibiano might begin to have that renewal of mindset. Bibi Kenya woman say okay. Hey, where the Mufanchami? Sorry. UK politics. Nyasem Kito, Suella Braverman, ex-conservative. What? Mabel. Former Home Secretary Suella Braverman were defective reform. Hey, Nigel Farage. Anyway, we'll have that conversation later. Let's focus. Masood, greetings to you. Entino mo eduma abranti mo na yesi mu bisa say oye hwan obeyedien re ho faso ne say aden na Ghana tourism paying so much attention or ye eduma e wose kamenu mienu ye eduma e wose nka sebe ni die mo but ye mpanimfo binom African continent ni mpanimfo ne ye no oman to me anya no effectively no Abrantie use soft power or yama you free as a continent. Tina will be a dinner chia, will be a bonabasono. Into bringing it back to Wodemaya, a lot of the youth are inclined to listen to Ishowspeed than to listen to Obitise Wodemaya. That is not to say send Wodemaya cano and no correct. My husband said, I wonder how Wodemaya feels by now because this acquired guy catchy attention. But the oil Wodemaya, Wodemaya, it's mestre Africans. Mommy follow Wodemaya still. Mommy more Wodemaya abaso still, especially employer as Ghana for because Ghana for the Wodemaya or say ye dia, Wodemaya ye dia. The mommy supporting no, mommy mona baso, mommy peja Wodemaya na onususu entumi nkwanim enkonkwa. But otherwise, they are both doing the same thing. Just to say, well, we said there's this thing about Africans. They're beyond African Nibian plantation mindset. Plantation mindset, slave trade, the effects of the slave trade, jeans baby. And assemble Ninua Africa ni beka achre no ninua Ghana ni beka achre no ma obi free Togo emeka the same thing obetie Togo ni no obetie ni free Ivory Coast no obetie ni free Nigeria obebo ninua Ghana ni die na to agu. Pick me, see he has Speed started streaming live in Ghana yet. I haven't seen anything yet. I just saw his arrival at Kotoka. That's all I saw. Auntie Abena, good afternoon to you. What I say? Auntie no, yeah, let's. Oh, Auntie Abra, say Marie, you'll be celebrated as you promote others. God bless you. Thank you, Auntie Abra. Thank you. God is faithful. Thank you. Ernestina, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Auntie, yeah, mommy and supporting Wodemaya still. Ishowspeed, where the ani be 2 days be Wagana ho no ko. Yet the any Wodemaya. Auntie, no, yes, in as much as we ye dana say. we appreciate the oyama your continent, we appreciate the oyama Ghana ni bibiano. The end of the day, yeah, the any wodemaya. And the oyen wodemaya yedada. Wodemaya guso ye. Ti mummy and supporting wodemaya. Mamuma ye nja wodemaya won kwen finfin. Ye Africans ye pesade and pa and put it to Ghana for. When you could with the Maya sing quite fifi, enough you could do OBH because or no, say you who say, oh, you to say menu, and to say you who is asked you bruni. Sani etie. That's just how we've been wired. Maybe dream why I'm in Tiasi. Anyway, mommy and twaso. And common ya me de pan, common door so me de. And yes, he's appealing to the younger generation. And like Olele said, he's appealing to the younger generation to say, yeah, me do a more example, yeah. Ebia na woman young school when starting a Juma and can say, okay, we are going to tour the world on our own without our parents. And then when woman drew our age, they start touring the world, no. Now, in considering countries I won't be visiting, if they want to do like an African tour, Ghana being a key part of countries they would want to visit. Now, we must also know, say, Abrantie Obe highlight it as much as he can. After all, a lot of these countries he's going to have been very strategic in selecting key places. Senka yepesa adie we even more impactful poa. I was a jano free fall no ya na adie na oye. But a lot of these countries have been very strategic. Of course, every country is telling their own story through his eyes and so okay. Now, man, we must understand that enkwara shene no. Enkwara no parents beba bedi nkomo. Parents then so say Africans are. A lot of parents can also debunk edema bebria or be highlighting. When we come and talk to our African leaders and we respectfully, sometimes we are very angry and irate and annoyed, but we come and we say to our leaders, please fix the continent. Fix the continent. And this is where midday saying as of next year, President Mahama is going to be the leader of the African Union. That should make a difference. You see, my prayer under President Mahama becoming the leader of the African Union, for example, is that the conversation on a borderless Africa must come to an end. Africa must be borderless. When we say borderless, and no interest say there's not going to be the border between Togo and Ghana, for example, or Ghana and Ivory Coast, or Ivory Coast and somewhere else, or maybe Benin and Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso, or whatever. Those borders will still be there, and not the boundaries, for Ekurubia. But I'm talking about borderless Africa in terms of how we move from one African country to the other effortlessly. 2 years ago, was it 3 years ago? My husband we did a European tour. We drove from UK, from Doncaster here. We drove to, was it about 5 or 6 African countries? And the only, maybe I home video, my home video several times. The only place we were, the only 2 places are you checking your passports. Dover, Mr. Champon Pachomichiao. You drew Dover, one more checking your passports with Dover. You did your car, no could see ferry, no so. The next place you start checking your passports, Calais, France, north of France. You checking your Calais. You driving out of Calais, and no. We were able to drive around about 5 or 6 different European countries effortlessly. And check, and a Ghana phobi, na Madame Fubakubi, childhood friend, na Okahubi. So moba kaya Ghana phobi drive from Ghana to UK, or drive from Accra to London. Ye interview almost several. I'm saying BBC cry interview almost. Na complaining about wahala omunya no Africa. Moving from one African country to the other, wahala omunya ye. And the moment I want to do Europe, how effortless it was. The moment they reach you, I'm talking about through Spain. How effortless it was driving through Europe until they reached London. And I say until they reached the UK, England. Into Africa must be borderless. Me who se me wo fa Gabi Ochredako as part of the Africa Prosperity Dialogues program na oba be ye no. Enra me hu and no se na me hu on Facebook so ono so champione a borderless Africa. Matisse President Mahama ka ho asem pay say and that maybe not the first previous government I believe a idea or champione ya edru baby but ofi abemo no and shut down kwankusi baby ya. And I'm hoping and praying and believing and trusting God say Nyankopon pena President Mahama Samba be leader of the African Union from next year 2027 into our President Mahama ending a tenure as leader of the African Union in Reno. NASA and Komowe is a thing of the past. Because why must an African struggle to travel from one African country to the other? Going back to Wodemaya, I remember a video be a share on Wodemaya. Na ofri Ghana eko Togo. Me say wahala okonyano wa a flower border, not the Ghana side of the flower border, but the other side, the Togo side of it. To the point where Yama made the current tourism minister, Madame Abla Jifa Gomashi, or the Neko Hokora. Emma Madame Jifa Gomashi so can say for all her years in parliament, so wako oma ye niema wo eko was kakrapping. Or what decide way home koma and shut down konkusi. And you ask yourself, why? Why though? Why? You ask yourself, why? Why is that the case? Why is that the case though? Idea as Africans, I was say Yeshena, Debia, we need to be heard. Having these conversations, all these, conferences, these conversations need to come up. So that's another thing. And a former Ghanaian parliament, member of parliament, the constituency in a northerner, Ras Mubarak, and a payment when the video be, or also or free, or really MP Jumano, why he started doing something to do with, touring Africa. And a pay me Ras Mubarak video on Oshwa can the same thing. We highlight and project Africa, the beautiful side. It's good. Yeah, sure. I was saying you share that side of us. Yeah, it's important. But we also cannot hide away from the fact that we still have a lot of work to do. And that is what Ras Mubarak was also discussing. And then he also mentioned, Kofi mehu. I literally just screamed. If it came on my Apple News, mehu. She's going to reform. Can you imagine? Ras Mubarak also called the same thing and Ape say borderless Africa. Because Europe has done it. Europe has done it. If indeed African leaders see any brepa some person continent anymore. I don't know so that an African traveling from one African country to the other, I said, Tama, free driving, free Ghana, bar UK, lady be so Nigerian lady be so free UK, or also driving from UK to Nigeria, or also can the same thing from UK through Europe all the way to say across the Mediterranean, effortless. The moment I would drew Africa, and then the problems started. These are things that as Africans, I was saying, we hope say you're penny for President Mahama, Eco African Union next year, okay, leader na a subitra. Okay, Mumayantwa ole link so.
Like with the Maya, who appeals to an older generation. So someone like Speed represents the future of such amplification. What the Maya has already tapped into the present or the current because he appeals to an older demographic. But Speed is the investors and the tourists of the future. So we can't afford to downplay this moment because there's a 12-year-old kid somewhere in perhaps Columbus, Ohio, somewhere in China, somewhere in who knows, wherever, who is just watching these streams. I mean, look at the impact of Speed stream in Benin, even within Africa. Some people are blown away. They are surprised. Benin has just had this facelift of tourism. Like it is as if it's become like a hidden treasure that has been uncovered. That is even for our generation. So imagine a younger generation who is watching Speed's experience in Ghana, experiencing Ghanaian culture, authentic. That is a scene. In 10 years, when that person has disposable income and is planning a vacation, where do you think Ghana will sit in their mental map of destinations?
Fantastic. It's a visa question. Now, Speed is appealing to the younger generation. You're more inclined to listen to him. Okay. Now, this younger generation, no, if they are to make, like I was saying, or start a juma or disposable income, maybe 19-year-old, and I made an example. Is Ghana the first place? Do I see my 19-year-old coming up to me to say, Mommy, I start here juma, menyesi kakakra, I want to go on holiday and make Ghana? Do I see that happening? If Noah, why might Ghana not be the first port of call to say, I'm excited, I'm gathering, a number of my friends here? Maybe in Mimi's case, for example, is because of she sees me do the politics. She sees me highlight the fix the country, fix the bad roads, fix the this, fix the that, fix the economy, fix the this. Into a wasika or better say or then enough for first. Not necessarily. So obekwa na ebia oko because e no free. Now, having said that, yeah, man, omo pe Ghana pa, na they want to go to Ghana. They want to go to Ghana. Omo pe Ghana pa, but me ka kwa kusi say, would Ghana, if Ghana is going to be the first port of call for younger generation, enem nkwarebi a wote akwento ya wona akwento matete na akwento in the next maybe say 10, 15, 20 years. Boy, they were highlighting. But akwara no oba beba no or here roads no or better economy no because nisika kaka ne holiday money kakra or deba ne hotel a obekwa akoda. Well, you see, this is where na yebane ye nimpanifo na kasa sebe ni die mu a de bia ya meka se enye ntokwa o enye ntokwa se ye pese ye ya die we ni ye ni ye na eboa ye for daache a. These are some of the things ye ti akwentom na ye ba beba holidays aya ye dwene ho. Summertime family biasa wo the family busuye bia mo ba beko holidays and I'm for Christmas time ba beko holidays. This is the thinking that goes into it. Okay, sika Ukraine ye better tickets, airlines time be na ye suitable for us. Okay, say ye try ticket away. Okay, ye ni Ghana in free mo ye fa say ye twu kwan akọ baby fufo. Hotel, how much is it going to cost? Okay, what are the different types of hotels? Maybe a 4-star, stay star. Would they be compare Airbnb? Would they be compare? Would be compare? Say, meka kwa kusi say nyamie nim nukure ni. Nyamie nim nukura ye best Ghana mpenimfo. Se munye hu bibi na ni nyina beboa ma Ghana tourism etumi akọ nim. Hotel prices in Ghana. Hotel prices in Ghana ne boye den. Hotel prices in Ghana. Ye to me just to me nya price. Sometimes me take me share YouTubers ni bi na ade me take hotel prices ni bi pay. Na madua koto ebia Marbella in Spain. Me bisa me ho se na sika ya ye kulti. Na se me call Marbella ana me call Lanzarote ana me call Tenerife. Anka hotel a me kwa demo wo ho for sa amount. Ebi kra be slightly less. Why must I go and pay that amount in Ghana? Tina ya ye mu bi mu ye so ye camera. Ye highlight sa niema no. Yes, ye negative now or mine na ye highlighting in a negative. Ni nyina e ka ho bi. E be ye a sebe ye ya so sometimes no e ya ne ye mpese ye be glossy over niema, but ye show ye camera ye so ye highlighting baby ya sebe ni di mo mpese mo be ko but e ho na ye so ye be ko no. Ni nyina e ka ho bi no mine be ye o. E ka ho bi no mine be ye. Customer service in Ghana. Customer service. I don't even want to go there. Customer service. For that, because I nkwara no omo ba no enema omo hweni. Now oba be ka kire abrochire ne akwara ne se o mesin ko Kakum Park. Na se road a lead ko Kakum Park no. Road ninya. Or bombadiano Ishowspeed say yemfa say road e ko Kakum Park. Say yemfa say bia minim baby obeko. Na mo de no ko Kakum Park. Imagine road na abranti so say na no obeka woni video no mo obi ate. Obeka ma 50 million for ni nyina abete. Say Ghana road the Kakum Park nye. Entina Maria Mwakwa Bwedu saw the camera, Maria Mwakwa Bwedu Baba Bekachi and penny phone. Say yes, Remo. Tourism de won here because you move me 2 ye won near my dear cost won crop for my mu. Your contra ye tria de ye niko koshe. Enti roads ni been a lead to some of these places now. And on a year so ye debate to 2 year home, ahwa ye hono. A year of is a matter of extreme importance and urgency. Say you better fix our roads. Ene mere nkwara ya ya be. Ontumi nka nkyere bro ya brochire ni akwara ase wabesi akọ tourist attraction bi e wo Ghana ho sebe. Okohwe wieye. Baby obetena anom coffee kura ebi ni ho. Baby obekwa akoto drink kakra kura anom ebi ni ho. Tina ya me se me ba me kase a lot of these tourist places in Ghana. Ubehwe bewi, ubekwa kohwe bibia bewi no. You know, sometimes if I say Kwame Nkrumah is it mausoleum your friend me boy. Share nyemani na or ya show all the wonderful history ejuma Dr. Kwame Nkrumah be na bibia. Uria, you are in such a mental state bia. You just don't want to leave. You want to find somewhere to sit and relax and really reflect on dia wako hu, dia wako she, dia wako sua, dia yaka chiro, bibia, and sana wasoriako. But oftentimes, ubeko ye kurum Ghana no, and ye masani yana ebini ho, into we share idea na you are forced to leave. And then one share na say be fancy one faka unko trotro bi na kwa fu taxi bi na kwa fu ebi na driver no kwa wa ye rude and na wa mantem ana bibi na ase wo balance ase wo experience na uko have ye no nti na ya me say metasre say let's begin to think in terms of Ghana tourism any die mo mesre mo obuo kwanso, but let's begin to think about how we can expand on eniyama binum say so that yes obi kohwe Kwame Nkrumah owia there's a nice cafe bi wo ho ba bia obetumi akotena and relax said you making wako Cape Coast Castle uwie ya you don't just exit but a ho ba bi oti ho now nipa no kura waba no na okon waba na onemu no wo hwe said the abrofo no ye na the different stages of how you are hooked in from one stage, how they hook you into the next, and how they will hook you into the next. Into ube we not sika was spending. Oh, any DMO, but that is how the thinking. If we are trying to attract Abrochire to come, said the next 10, 15, 20 years to make Africa the place for tourism, as opposed to Europe, as opposed to we are going to London. If as America, so Africa, we choose Africa as a destination, the whole holiday destination, be as opposed to make Paris because Eiffel Tower, and now make London because Big Ben, and now make her. Was see a Drew baby and Korana Becca okay, make Ghana, make such and such, make Ghana, make we, make Benin, make we. That is what this boy is doing for us. But how are we going to build on it? How are we going to sustain it? How are we going to make it even more better to attract Nkwarano? Is how we need to begin to think. Okay, before you bet to us, let me bring in another point. Let answer. Mitie Akwarebi video. Let me see. I think it's still on my Facebook. Munti. This is what this young man is doing for us. Boa Boa Africa. And where we are now, Okono, how we're going to build upon the oil. Let me try my dream. I didn't
know Africa was such a beautiful country. They got cars, they got water, they got Wi-Fi. Like we was lied to. We was really lied to. The music in Africa is just so beautiful. I used to think the only song in Africa was Waka Waka by Shakira. I'm gonna find out they got Davido. The U.S. government really brainwashed us, bro. We need to go back to our brothers and sisters. Like, I really thought everybody in Africa speaks like this. And the best part of all, hear me out. Hear me out. You're not going to believe this. They got more than one country. No, I'm not kidding. They got more. I thought it was just Africa. I really thought it was just Africa. I'm like, don't cancel me for this, but I look-y thought they lived in huts. That's just what they teach us. Like,
you might think it's funny. And Kwarani Bebreti say waha. bebree and it is say ewa me say me koye adwuma wo school bi. I say me ma share with me viewers da koye adwuma wo school bi na meti na your lesson bi. I had to teach half of the lesson and it was on Africa. Na me call notes are now on my prepare. My colleague back one offer the first half of the lesson. The notes are what prepare. In fact, the slides are now on this show in Kwarano class. Ghana APM. And then I made a trigger me that day. Now we'll show, a few African countries will show 1 or 2 buildings back home, it drew Ghana no. And no cover hats, straw hats now, one northern Ghana no fast straw hat, image of a straw hat. Ne atro Ghana and or the chire nkora no ka chire mu so Ghana say na womote blah 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 man kasa te drew meme portion no meme notes and na prepare ne how na me ba be lesson nyina. I discarded all of it and I me so me call YouTube na me ko pull video the Africa they don't show you na me so me botchere nkora no. So now the children were seeing the high-rise buildings in Ghana, portions of Ghana, portions of here, portions of there. Some of these African countries, coastline, where we have boats near their identity. Let me say, this is Africa. And this I got a video until say or share or follow Ishowspeed share because she made this video after Ishowspeed. Now they think he knew, or the United States of America. They think he knew. Now me colleague being so London, South London school be. Or not so one day staff room girl ba call no fee. Was it Ethiopia or Somalia? Eritrea. And a girl you call the Chrome holidays no buy. Or buy why you fell girl back brony girl back could be no ain't in a catch them and I made the miniman see they live on trees, okay? Thank God says that time phones yaba. Nothing ye baby your phones near church no. Said we don't live on trees there. But you see, some of this type of mindset ya womukura wahe esteme from when your leaders ni be allow abrofui womuba Ghana no womabe shooty images of poor African children. Amena once they see so near the ababe a water aid adverts where you can near butcher your Sky News, near butcher your BBC, near butcher your ITV. Water aid, Africa news you hear Africa, near the amena, and once they see so near the ababo actually, and on a cocoshenko food trim. Now one with the aid and abba, na leaders ni biaje, no woman misuse. And no nema ye mubrimu ye ni brain social media so 5-6 years ago, no. And then nema ye mubi muba at the African leaders gidi. But of course, me baba at African leaders, I wasn't going to come at Paul Kigali or President Goodluck Jonathan or Meme Krom Ghana then and hear me. And he says, yeah, Barney, you say fix the country. You see, Meme the and say it's all well and good. Say Ishowspeed, you didn't ha. Okay. I then the young fanning conquer ball and assume abuburishi. And then yemfa Ishowspeed. Yemfa nko ball and assume mefane say baby or dance my feature your call campaign last year 2 years ago 2024 me ko hu ye frɛ ho glefe. And then yemfa nko ball and assume glefe. And then yemfa nko odona no nko hwɛ efi a egu odona num na projecting my area 50 million plus for no omunhu. Say eno de ye mfere ye meboa. Eno de ye fere. Yempese ewiase behu that side of us. And if yempese ewiase behu that side of us, why aren't we fixing it? If yempese ewiase behu that side na, then yem fix it. Because whether we like it or not, that side nimpo a door so chain. And yemana fena and yede babe chena yede babe impressor no. Efino doso eche niema na efe no ye memu nti ade ne yen clean efino na yen bring it or mine to bebia or mine bebia ya at least presentable kama ball and sedan sunsum bebia efi ya gates ni munchoku ade ne yen why ade na mommy allow ye ho na no me hu say bebeka bus stop boys asem Metesa President Mahama last week was 2 weeks ago. Yeah, now President Mahama Kasafa said ye beaches are ye free. Said ye beaches are ye free woman ye beaches. Kolabadi beach na koshe. You know the ya yempesi ye beka. But ye nim say no shaka ye tourism no ho. Ye nim se ka ye tourism no ho. Broni bie ni ha o 2 kwan summer time ana akwara ya wo na brochira o 2 kwan summer time akoba bia ana mpo Christmas time they are not looking for omanya beach wo ho a obetumi akọ beach akọ chili akọ jineni. This is why ye mu bi betani ye kase mu ye clean ye beaches no. Me makọ Ghana akọ joining in a clean up exercise e wo Labadi Beach Hotel that day me saw live my viewers mo hwe. My joining cleanup exercise at Labadi Beach Hotel. Labadi Beach, not hotel, pardon me. But Labadi Beach. And I had a shock of my life. Why? Because I've seen other beaches in other countries where you can literally see your face in the water. Masan komono ya mum pese yebedi. But yebedi. O see ya minim. Ishowspeed about attracting more frana more about 10-15 years time. Do we even realize that our politics, our systems of governance, which impacts our economy, nina feeds into your tourism about attracting performer or maba or main. Enya Ghana nko. All other African countries in so. Say yeah can what bay our highlight African countries be. Say competition bebem. Until I made hotels, hotel pricing, how very expensive our hotel prices are in Ghana. Young customer service ni sa many na tina me bosono. Because now no so abofraya yesi o apili to omu. Obi ba beba. Now o share Benin. Okay, Obenya Beach or Benin. Obenya Sunshine or Benin. Obenya, the African feel no or Benin. Or share Ghana, or share Nigeria, or share Morocco, or share Hane ha, Abranti Yakonyana, or share Nisika or Deba, or compare hotel prices near the Adina, na or share Nazania Africa, and some you see Africa. Into or share Nasabia Benin, dear Nebebuana. Send no call Benin, Anna, and on this can be Ghana. Yan find a hotel when yan hotel or pay, or share that same hotel no Benin, ebi a budget be 50 euros be, and $50, say $70, $80. Or share Ghana no that same type of hotel be a muko to $90 no beko. Remember one way mofra. Say yes or appeal to mofra no. Say respectfully, but this say you was say yedre na yehwe hawa wa barrier ya okwi na say yeah attracting mofra no so wo momra no for the future no 10 15 20 years time no. These are the things we need to look at, because this is what happens baby and mofra na you feel say or attractive no wo nkro any baby omo ta call omo holidays no. This is what happens there, because wukita mefa say bia $100, which is works about mefa say bia 80 something pounds. Ubet me kura u time near me ya ubet me nice Hilton. Ubet me nice room and Hilton ada ewo Europe ha baby. But that same 80 euros no might not give you a Hilton type of room in Ghana. Open Hilton type of room in Ghana, it might cost you more. Now bofra no kofesi kana wen. Now no na me hwe Kwadwo Shell de mo show. 30 December year by ye. How a Ghana for binom. Definitely say ensure na yetono on ordinary day 7 cedis. Ensure no price na shoot to call MCSS 50 something to 70 something cedis. Eurabani so obisa nipa no to ensure no see because abrochire for number. Until the mindset is ahoho aba o man nti yembu omo. Some mindset, it needs to change. And yes, I show speed or beko. Yeah, and careful. Yeah, to me attracting millions and millions of nipa ma in 10, 15, 20 years time. If this is the mindset. In Shia ordinary date on the 7 cities. Bronya benti. Abrochirefo naba enti. Ye mu omo. Abrochirefo ya aba isokra. Dodo na ye wa wu nuanom Ghana fo ati akwento ma omo abafie ba bedi bronya. I fear no omo aba no. Omo bebo abusuafo, oba wa ye shopping am abusuafo na ade okọ obeje abusuafo sika. Onkwa abonten konkoji nani kakra ni nua Ghana ni se wa benti. Ma main quadruple the price of items. Ni nyina wose ye de kwa adwindwen mu. Enti no na meka no olele mo na ade de omo aka omo de, but ye hwe no from a very broad perspective adwuma wo ho abrante ndo obekọ promote do be promote ye obe showcase obeye na femu de kokọ. How do we build on it so that in future Ghana and pay na me catch my husband say bibi na no me say you see dirty December, the term dirty no ho aba asem African continent ni so na me say and mofre ya money wo mu dili as in ye major generation omo na eba up with our terminology no eno na attract omo eno na ye wo de eno na ye wo fe we are talking about a generation ade efa omo say eye sick beba mojo meboa ye wa akwentu ma ye ma no wo mo ne wo na fufu odidi nkomo a nya sa na omo ka no ade efa o say eye sick means efa ade na efa pa this is so sick just ade na efa. Inti se wo ye mpani older generation no se moma embrace wo mo ne wo mo vocabulary wo mo vernacular ne wo mo vocabulary wo mo use no mo ne sa niema na you might miss out on a lot. Wo mo ma inti if wo mo na nkwara ne say dirty December onko kan say December ne efi. I don't know how some people are hearing it. Ewa sebe Africa wo mpanimfo ni bi. But it's become an issue to the point where it affected one Nigerian actress recently, Ini Edo. Emma the movie be na why you say a show. But in Kwarane woman language, no. That's wicked. No, Sister Lydia. We yeah, we are calling on generation more frebi according to ha idea for is wicked. Me wo baka dem say wicked make say manafo kasaye nya sa na me kire o but wo kasa no when they are talking amongst themselves school ne ade kasa no enti mpanimfo ne and obi so atwere wa hey we are talking about a generation where or kasa bibi ye mad it means it says lit. The older generation need to really adjust, and this is what we keep saying, we need more younger people, even in our systems of governance and in our politics, because they will understand the younger generation, the generation coming better. Oh, now wokofa ya papa mo generation if we na woman that's occupy political officer. On tiasie. Cause woman no mo old school. Yeah, our parents, we had to really adjust our thinking to kind of accommodate some of these things. Me fear how to be wicked. There be for papa will fear. You leave your wicked and your is mad and so leave it out of the front door. But we can school, but me door, me husband, do household her. You speak proper English here. Kind of the right way. Sometimes they say bad and be a show. And what I say, ain't you know, and you maybe to say dirty December, no money at the no I can also see where Mpenifona are coming from. Mpenifona be so argument, no making no, and also metiasie. But you need to ask, is it about you or is it about Kwarano? And because the future is theirs. Oopsie, bear with me 1 minute, please. What's going on here? Yeah, my nails see. Okay. Can't even see what I'm doing. Got it. The future is for Nkwarano. I say, Mama, after watching Ishowspeed Kenya stream, I realized Ghana has thrown away many things, even our culture. And yeah, but then if that's the case, Adena take it ono to come and promote our culture. And now we are all kind of paying attention and now inclined to, but Wodemaya has been there. And we couldn't use Wodemaya to do that. Stella Chanel Limunina have been there. A lot of our Ghanaian YouTubers are we are not using them. This are Ishowspeed aba and sana afeni you say your culture be I was say expose it to the rest of the world. A prophet is not known in his own household. A prophet indeed is not known in his own household. So make us a Wodemaya, Mummy show yadi mune yam building Wodemaya. Because other African countries so irrespecting a pa. Okay, intino and commodity all lemo or be in some so
This is not about impressing one person. This is essentially about reaching millions of subscribers and giving us the opportunity to position Ghana before a global audience that traditional marketing could never access. And for those of you think that we will move on, it's fleeting, I disagree, because this is not also about immediate views. You are looking at content that is evergreen, and as long as YouTube lives, this content that is evergreen will be searchable, it will be shareable, it would live on the internet forever. You're looking at TikTok clips.
This is where evergreen is a content a brand betray is going to be on the internet forever. Say you see the internet doesn't forget. And it means competition, baby. A key aspect of what this guy has done in Africa will also bring huge competition. And if it's going to be on the internet forever, now this is the new tourist center. This is the new tourism. This is the new travel and tour center. And it may say, if I want to tour Africa, I could go onto his TikTok or his Facebook and his YouTube, watch a couple of videos and start comparing the countries. Okay, I want to start touring Africa. Let's say West Africa. And here I may call Nigeria first. And I may call Benin first. And I may call wherever, some of the other countries he's been to. Or call her experience Ben Onyaye. What was the customer service like? How were the people like? How did they relate with him? Are they friendly? And our woman nice. Culture net is saying, Adriani Odi no pana na ompe. Okay, let me go see the next one. Let me see. Me shebe me no me and say okay. I think say oko Benin ni je pa. Therefore, me so me ko Benin ameni beje pa. Competition bebem. It is a person competition at all times. A triba Ghana, dear. The name be or one sebi ye mubi musu na ye highlight ya. You will influence ni bi how kind of backdoor ye juma. And you will be also with the experience na ye mubi ye nim se sometimes so ye ni penny for kasa backdoor move no. Hey ani beba betra na ye beka. Say nipa 1 na ehwe yen yo. Say nipa 2 na ehwe yen yo. Say nipa 50 million na ehwe ti say Ishowspeed ye beba beka. Because I thought that ye beka na social media nko na mote ye nka. Sister Holly Mpacho, good afternoon, Michelle. Thanks for joining. And the content is evergreen. It's going to be there forever, and it's the new kind of travel and tour. Because as some kakeke, if you walk into a travel and tour center, I'm fine say adabraka, obi a company so and so travel and tour, or say fawusi kabra na beto ticket na ko baby. Nipa na otu ona wo twa ticket na ma wo nokura wo bisa ne say okay me pesa me ko ekuro we so tell me 10 things I can do was akuro no so onya ba akokora nka nkyerɛ because onye trained onya ba akokora nka nkyerɛ. And so a lot of the times many of us we don't just travel for the fun of it. Say sikane yenya na abroso. We travel because ya tin sembia for krobi ho yenim say history bi wo kronum monumental nyama sentimental bb there's so much history be sometimes for religious purposes we just want to go and see and touch and feel and be a part of it. That is why we travel. Into you be na bia wo ba bebuye travel and tour ne ade think about it, train them well. Yeti UK have, for example, offer any traveling agency. Now catch any say or phone no say now catch so I'm planning a trip this summer to let's say me call Abia Indonesia, me call Japan, for example. Where is the best place in Japan? City Bay in Japan, do you think say Uber recommend and I say Obete washroom. Oh, I think you should go here because I had your okwa way way 1874, such and such a happy waha 18 this 1639 way you're like, oh wow. Me kwa me ni beji any bukimam namenko. You know, yeah, when we talk about training, tourism, bro, and ya track, and ya nene sabi, and idiemu, yeah, no, say yakwasa adowa or kutuka international airport. If we really want to use our tourism to generate millions of dollars into our Ghanaian economy, then there's a lot of work to be done. And we would humbly, respectfully, and need them. Our governments also need to pump a lot of money into our tourism, because tourism minister, no resources, tourism authority, no more resources now, and no should be to me deliver. Like the more millions about or money. That is why uko baby to say Istanbul, you find say one grand mosque. Na ubisa, or to me catch them say, oh yes. A year last summer 5 million people from across the world came to see the Grand Mosque alone. Yeah, you call her a few years ago. You call share her. You be 5 million people, and when we googled it, the information was there. And our tourism ministry said the information was there, and the queues we saw. Yeah, we had to do it at the end over 2 days because we couldn't finish in 1 day. The queues we saw, no cry justified. This was simple shortly after COVID, and to almost say prior to COVID, quite an yasam kitwa. Say ya bet na eto da na ye kaga na asem Nyen say obi na obi mpe obi asem na obi tan obi mo na ya mo ba na you hate we na you no and nothing na ma ye mu bi mu ye de pressure to ye mpanimfo no so sad because onyankopon adom ye oman a we have beautiful forts, we have beautiful castles, we have, but ni nyina agija dodo na agija. There be a maybe a yedi ya man ba Ghana. Na my cousin be ono so ne yere ne ono so ne ma. My brother, my husband brother ono so ne yere ne ma. Ye nyina ye be hye mu. Ye see ye call Cape Coast Castle. Ye ria ye de nkwara no nyina kwa hwe Kakum Park. Na ye ko drew Cape Coast Castle na wo mo de ye to ne wie ne ye ko gina ba bia cannons no wo ne ye hwe epo no. Na sebi okwabra ne ko to form ho na you know this open defecation thing ni ade. Me sure camera me ye de wo ho kakra. And I think it was President, was it shortly after that President Akufo-Addo ba Bemo whatever. Anyway, but it became part of my advocacy. Me started for so I didn't know it was part of my advocacy. Yeah, this was it na Madam Catherine Afeku, obey a tourism minister, and na okusi fence. On also boss, I didn't know who they were because enye fe. But mani pana and what that Cape Coast Castle means to us and what it can continuously do for us as a mind in terms of tourism. Yeah, Crofoni be Yanum Ghana Foni be Becquas Yaho Basa, Filbon will be ambassador Becquash. Cape Coast Castle. Cape Coast Castle don't compete with the millions of dollars of Ghana every year. Not to talk of the other castles, the other forts and castles. Any Niema Bibria. Look at the beautiful waterfalls. And what is it? Willy or Vli? WLI, I think you cannot. But spelling, pronunciation. But our Volta region. Beautiful waterfalls. Yeah, Mohude. And so, you bet to quite Ako, Ontario. Ne Yako share Bakone the same. Niagara Falls. And so, not the way you couldn't cry and share. Ti enkomone de abrante en de waba obeko adwuma wo ho mom yenye adwuma no entwa wo le video yi so
viral clips that will go, out on their own independently. We've seen that from other countries. It's going to be on the internet forever. That's what the news coverage of the tour itself and all of that. It is normal. It is what we call end media, because there's even going to be content from other creators, who are inspired by the trip. Tourism inquiries will definitely shoot up. Investment interest from diasporan entrepreneurs will shoot up. So you can't deny the economic value that this would compound over time. The question isn't should we care about a YouTuber. The question is, can we afford not to maximize this opportunity. Look, I get it. I understand the skepticism, that comes with conversations like this because we have serious structural problems. Ghana, Africa as a whole, well, West Africa as a whole, we are dealing with economic inequality, unemployment, infrastructure deficits here and there. A streamer doesn't solve these problems. Yes, it is true. You are right. But you see, from where I sit, my elders in the field will tell you that tourism and cultural visibility aren't substitutes for structural development, but they're not irrelevant either. Tourism generates revenue, and the revenue creates jobs. And whether you like it or not, the positive international perception attracts investment, and that investment is what funds our development. These things are always interconnected, and they are not mutually exclusive. We are just victims.
I don't know what kind of positive promotion, it attracts more people, it attracts investors, it attracts but nipa ne beduria obehun reality in so. Me kai say the Chinese phobia, never for Chinese phobia by Ghana President Akufo-Addo ba afoforo no. And we were so near person mobile youth program be in Ghana. And from the very moment we exited Kotoka International Airport, na you who say guy be jina airport no, Kotoka Airport roundabout be there no, billboard be a na ho, na guy ni jina ho stark naked na eho na ujare. Eho na ujare. Nti said ne social media na ba ahaya ne yebeba betena ene ye ne ye ho ebedi nkomo so wo yo obi a wote saa wo Ghana ho a jai saa suban no mona sebe mona Ghana Accra mona street ne so na sebe wo pe se ye then you just stand a man titi mona motaya saa de no right in the middle of the road. And I said, now, na sign him in Amunyai because a turning nipa off. Sign your money who the same Ghana in Ubaya, the same Subai or Ghana Hono. What for plane across the Mediterranean and drew Europe happy Ubeja is Subai. Why do you do it in Ghana there? Yemi no me man is susu bitisa. And fan so or person or who gotta be right in the middle of the whole baby jina atwetwe ne select na akosoro. But then no so then it brings us to public toilets. So mube say once upon a time will be back as obesi toilets the best na idea, but sometimes it's necessary. Say at least baby no more. And as I buy any businesses need be back to say petrol stations, so no money are there, and this is why it's important that we also have the water no flowing, so that in Crawford you see toilet kwana yatumia flashing ye. Do you see how everything is interconnected? Everything is interconnected. And to all my show the nice side, the glossy side, wanting to have that nice conversation, any sometimes but now how we look at the other side and say, look, the other side also we cannot neglect because a holocra doors until mommy and fix here or your attention. Yen na obi make I said you be kind of nonsense. Obi make I said you be kind of nonsense. Konina nebeka boom. And maybe not in our lifetime, but they be yen show Rebecca say, oh, you drew advance, yeah, advance you drew baby. Oh, and that's a civilization now konenim. And that is why sometimes it is so upsetting. Say, and yama binum say koso, but ube share unuanom Africans and now unuanom Ghana for no. Not they just don't care. They just can't be bothered. Ye bet me afa obi private life obi private asem obi a wawu a okwa asebe ebia ne yere mu mienu enti ase bi nya adwuma ba ye bet me gina sound common so for 8 months 7 to 8 months ye gina obi private life so rather than saying ye some of that energy no ebedi nkomo a ebeboa ye man ye kuro mana konanim your continent amana konanim. And oftentimes these are Ghanaians in the diaspora, Ghanaians living abroad.
of bad leadership. What I say? Last, this dude has been talking about Ghana a lot more than any other African country before the thought of an African tour came to mind. Even in the streams during the African tour, you could clearly tell that anticipation is so high about coming to Ghana. I remember when he was in Benin, was it Benin or Liberia? I stand to be corrected. When one of the tour guides was talking to him about the door of no return, immediately he heard and it settled within his spirit. The first question he asked was, is that the same thing as what is in Ghana? Is it different from what is in Ghana?
And so why the research?
The door of no return. The door of no return? Yeah, no. Even in Bali, we're taking away people, and we're bringing them back like one place. The door of return. Is it the same like the one in Ghana? Probably mean the same thing. It's symbolic. It's basically where they were taking people away.
It's very spiritual what he's doing.
Charged, for his visit to Ghana. How his bodyguard Rudy has been talking about Ghana. The thing it turned heritage matter, and now it has also become a competition, a healthy one, of course, right here within the region, the sub-Saharan region. Because mind you, when it comes to tourism on this continent, we are the loudest. Liberia, I wouldn't blame them that much. I wouldn't, because rarely do they have a strategic tourism position. But Nigeria, fumbled their bag. So if you were Ghanaian and it was your time, if it were to be you, like my good friend was, go strap up and do what you do best with the way this food set.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And oops, man. Gosh.
Pencil wise, I'm a arts, so I do pencil portraits.
Maybe.
And this is one of my arts pieces I did. I call this a touch of reality because I like to add.
Beautiful. May I find it very spiritual, and a pain I make same be saying. You know how me may share the and Wodemaya kept coming back to me. I was like, but Wodemaya's done this, and I wonder how Wodemaya is feeling and all that. And some and they say again, looking at the whole conversation from a very broad perspective, this is where also there might be people back home in Africa who don't really know this, because into quite to say the year to quite. But you'll be surprised to learn, and this many walk back home to quite than you'll be surprised to know, say, America there's still a divide between African Americans and actual Africans, whereby African Americans in America, African Americans more American than in Indian African. African American more a chain obi a ono ye 100% African. I don't know because I don't know racism, but it can fall under that bracket somehow. The same thing we do in Africa. So xenophobia and then when you narrow it down even to your respective countries within Africa, then tribalism also comes in. And yes, guy, you are bad and all that, but I pay me as an African, narrowing it down to me as a Ghanaian, I was fighting Wodemaya's corner in my mind. I was like, but Wodemaya's done this, but we need to give more opportunities to Wodemaya. But then thinking deeper and deeper, I'm like, no. More of the youth abroad will gravitate towards this young man rather than Wodemaya. Into honor made me example say me if I say can make me opportunity I may do age na me bear him na me bisa me ban say which one would you listen to? Omu nyina become the same thing, but me ban beti I show speed more as I know Wodemaya. I don't know. It's just how that's just how Iriase is. That's just how it's a mindset thing. Whichever way we look, Neofear TV, whichever way we look at it. But all in all, it's good for us as a continent. It's good for us and our tourism as Ghana. And Yami Shrano, Yadana Sibebre, and Minimson and Nibeji, Ghana dear, Nenibeji Ankasa, Nenibeji Pa, and on who difference, between Ghana and several of the other African countries he's been to. And I know that the experience in Ghana will stay with him for a very long time, in some of the other African countries. But all being said and done, it goes to prove, say, if we want to maintain our status quo, if we really want to maintain our title, no sir, or don and perform Ghana and our momentum, then we have more work to do in terms of our tourism. So let's keep working hard and keep promoting Ghana. And yes, we be true. Okay, I'm gonna love and leave you guys. Got work to do. Proverbs, book of Proverbs, around about 7 p.m. Okay, so yeah, make the guy have a nice time. Yeah, make sure you guys treat him extra special. No promoting Ghana. Like, where they're free of charge. Yeah. All right then. Bye bye.